In this video, we'll be looking at key signatures, and once you've watched this video, you will be able to identify a key signature, to describe the difference between major and minor key signatures, and to define the terms relative major and relative minor. A key signature tells us which sharps and which flats will occur throughout an entire piece of music. They are always written after the clef of every stave, and on the first line of the stave, they are written between the clef and the time signature, so after the clef, but before the time signature. And the sharps and flats of a time signature are always written in a very specific order, which I'll talk about in the next two sections. First, we'll look at major and minor, and a key signature is not the same thing as a key, but the two are very closely related, so they're very easy to get confused. So there are two different types of key, a major key and a minor key. The difference is the pattern of tones and semitones in a scale of these keys. So one way of thinking about them is that major sounds happy and minor sounds sad, though this is simplifying slightly. And every key has a relative major and minor, and this major and minor always share the same key signature. For example, C major's relative minor is A minor, and likewise A minor's relative major is C major. And both C major and A minor have the same key signature of no sharps and no flats. Again, it's very easy to get confused with this. Most people tend to think C major and C minor are relatives to each other, but that's not the case. C major's relative minor is A minor. And it's impossible to know if a piece is major or minor with only the key signature. You'll have to look at the piece itself to get that information. But every key signature only corresponds to one major and one minor key. This will make more sense in the next two parts when we start looking at more specific examples. So as I mentioned before, the difference between major and minor is the pattern of tones and semitones. So scales in major keys have the tone and semitone pattern tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Whereas scales in the minor keys have the pattern tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone. There are different kinds of minors, but again I'll explain that in the next section. So finally, there is only one exception, and that is the key of C major and A minor. So these keys have a key signature of no sharps and no flats, and unlike the key signatures with sharps and flats, which have rhymes to remember them, this one has no rhyme because it's an exception. So maybe think that C major is clear of all sharps and flats, so C major is clear, and then just remember to find the relative minor. You count down 3 in the alphabet. So starting on C, you count down 3, C, B, A, and that's A minor. So now double check that you can identify a key signature, that you can describe the difference between major and minor key signatures, and to define the terms relative major and relative minor.